Okay. All right. So these rods are located in the periphery of the retina. Okay. So this is why, like, when your eyes are adjusting to to darkness, it takes a second because it's basically like the cones that are used in light. It all has to shift out to the periphery of the retina. This is also why, well, why stuff in your peripheral vision, you don't see it in as much detail and you don't see it in color. Like it's harder to tell color in your peripheral vision. Now, in the center of the eye, in the center of the retina, what is called the fovea. Okay. All right. We have what are called cones. Cones are light and color sensitive, and they allow us to see in detail. So that's actually what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the different types of cones. The fovea is what gives us our best visual acuity. What does acuity mean? Accuracy. Yep. Okay. So if you, let's say, like, if you pick up your pen or pencil, all right, and you put your arms out like this, okay, and you look forward and you slowly bring your pen or pencil, okay, in front of your face, you can see it get more and more detail, all right, and it gets clearer until it's right in front of your face and it's very clear. All right, that's because it's moving from being seen by the rods to being seen by the cones. Well, you'll actually learn about that in the recorded lecture. That's called accommodation. The lens in our eye allows us to either focus close or focus far away. Okay. All right. So you can see how these rods and cones work. In this image right here, focus on like this little black dot right here. There are actually 12 black dots on there. All right, and see what happens with like all the rest of them. Okay. Anybody notice anything when you focus on one of them? All the rest of them disappear. Yeah, because there are a couple of different reasons, but partially due to the fact that all the rest of them are in your peripheral vision now. Okay, when I look at this one right here, the only two other ones I can see are this one and this one. My guess is because they're on the same visual plane. Now, where the optic nerve leaves the eye is what is called the blind spot. So like here's the retina all back here. Here's the fovea where we have a bunch of cones. The blind spot is where the optic nerve leaves the eye. And it's called the blind spot because it is blind. Okay, we don't have any vision in this spot. Now, our brain accounts for this. And so that's why we don't notice it at all. But the spot where the optic nerve leaves the eye, which is right on kind of the inside, all right, we don't have any vision. So real quick, I want us to, we all have blind spots, okay? If you say you don't, then, I mean, you do, okay? But I want everybody to get a sheet of paper. It can be a regular, it can be just be the back of the PowerPoint, doesn't matter. And lay it out landscape. And on one side, put a plus sign, and on one side, put a minus sign. And we're going to find our blind spots real quick. Okay. You don't have to worry about taking the edges off the paper. All right, so to find your blind spot, we'll do it with our right eye first, because that's most of our dominant eyes, most of our dominant eye. Okay, you want to hold the sheet of paper out about 1.5 feet out in front of your face, like this. All right, close your left eye, and then kind of let your right eye kind of relax and look at the center of the piece of paper. Okay, now your blind spot is on the outside edge of your eye. Your blind spot is on the outside edge right here. So what you're going to want to do is, without moving your eye, move the sheet of paper a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left. Don't move your eye with it. And at some point, whatever's on the right side of your paper, whether it's the plus sign or the minus sign, at some point that should disappear when it's kind of on the outside edge of your right eye. Okay, once you find it, you can kind of move it back and forth and see, like, all right, it'll come back into focus, and then you move it a little bit to the right or the left, and it'll go away. It's almost like it goes behind a curtain for a second. Okay. Once you find it with your right eye, you can find it with your left. It'll be in the same on the outside edge of your left eye, because the blind spot is actually on the inside edge of your eye. Okay, but that's the spot right there where the optic nerve leaves the eye, and you don't have any, there are no rods or cones right here. All right, everybody find it? Yep. Okay, if not, just keep trying. It's there, I promise you. And this is one of the things, like, I hate doing this class online so much, because like in stuff like this, like when we're in class, kids will be like, holy shit, like that's like, or like, I can't find it, like, and get all frustrated. On here, you all are like, all right, blind spot, whatever. Okay. Shit. Just spilled coffee all over myself. My white. Oh well. Okay. All right. So, two theories of color vision. And both of these are correct. They just explain color vision in two different areas. We basically have, what they've discovered is that we have two different color vision systems kind of as like backups to each other. So like if something goes wrong with one, then we kind of still have the second one. So trichromatic theory. Trichromatic theory is called this because it deals with three colors. Trichromatic. Trichromatic theory deals with the cones in the retina. So it's not dealing directly with neurons. And it says that there are three types of cones in the retina, in the fovea particularly. We have ones that are sensitive to long wavelengths, so red. Ones that are sensitive to short wavelengths, so blue. And then ones that are sensitive to medium wavelengths, so green. And basically, all the colors that we see are due to a combination of these firing, okay, of these cones activating at different intensities. Gotta try to remember not to cuss when I'm recording it. Okay. Activating at different, for instance, and this goes against like what you've learned. So like the way that we perceive light and color is different than like painting. So like when you paint, that's what's called subtractive color mixing, where all colors together make black. With light, it's actually all the light waves, all the colors on the light wave spectrum make white. Okay, so adding light waves together makes it brighter. That's why the sun looks white, because it's all the different wavelengths. But for instance, like to get yellow, red cones and green cones will be stimulated at different intensities to get different shades of yellow. Landon, is somebody trying to feed you right now? Okay. All right. So, all right. So basically, it's these all fire, and this is kind of like, you know how like printers use like yellow, cyan, and magenta to make all the different colors. It's kind of it's that same idea here. All right. You need to make sure that you know what the three different light sensitive cones are. And I have a way that might help some of you all. All right. So you can remember RBG. Who else or what? You know, there's another person, there's somebody else who's referred to as RBG or the notorious RBG. Anybody know who? She did. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody know what that Supreme Court justice's name is? Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Yep, it should be a B. Bader. That should be Ginsburg. Um, she just died, what, like a week and a half? It feels like it was a year and a half ago with everything that's happened since then. Okay, but yeah, she just died like a week and a half ago. Okay, RBG, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, red, blue, green. Now, the evidence for this is anybody in here colorblind? Somebody in here might be, and you might not even know it. There are a lot of people who are colorblind, but just think it's normal. Okay, so colorblindness, which mostly affects men. Okay, can everybody read this one right here? Okay, what does it say? 74, and then what's this one? 45. All right. If you can't read it, then you might want to go get your eyes checked because you might be either red colorblind or green colorblind. All right. But it's a different shade of green right here. Yeah. Yeah. So it's actually color blindness is a little bit misleading. It's more like being color deficient because people who are colorblind can still see color. They just can't see they just don't see color the same way that we do. But basically, what it is people who are colorblind are usually either red or green colorblind or both. And what that means is they don't have they either don't have red cones that respond to red or cones that respond to green. And so they actually see those colors, they would see those colors as essentially being the same. Okay, they wouldn't be able to distinguish between red and green. It's what's called they're either dichromatic or monochromatic, kind of like dogs. Okay, dogs I don't think can see blue, right? All right, I think they might be blue colorblind. All right, so that just basically means that they don't have one of these codes. All right, and all of you all can read this. So if you're colorblind, then joke's on you. Somebody first block got like very offended by this who was not colorblind. Okay. I've had colorblind people before who found it funny, so I don't think it's that offensive. Okay, being colorblind doesn't really hinder anybody. But here's an example. This is what like being red colorblind would look like. So they kind of like all look like brownish green. Okay, but as you said, like there are probably a lot of people who are colorblind who don't know that they are colorblind. All right, that they just think that that's what the colors look like. And to be fair, what I see as a certain color may be totally different than what you see. So you know. All right, so trichromatic theory, 3 different types of cones in the retina that respond to different wavelengths. Any questions on that? Almost done. Now, the other theory deals with neurons in the retina and the thalamus. Opponent process theory says that we have neurons that are either turned on or turned off by red or green signals, turned on or turned off by yellow or blue signals, turned on or turned off by black or white signals. But because this neuron is either sensitive to red or green, or yellow or blue, or black or white, that neuron can only fire one of those signals at once. So like if you imagine, let's imagine that we have that there's like a tube. Okay, all right, we got a tube right here. And then we have a red marble, and we have a green marble. All right, those 2 marbles can't travel down the tube at the same time. All right, okay, so when these neurons get a red or green signal, all right, they can only fire one of those at once. Right, which is why there is no such thing as reddish green. Okay, we can have bluish red, it's magenta. We can have greenish yellow, that's like a lime color. But there's no such thing as reddish green, because in terms of the neurons, they can't fire those 2 colors at the same time. This theory helps explain why people who are colorblind can still see yellow, because yellow is a combination of red and green cones firing together. The cones can fire together because they're separate. All right, but this explains why colorblind people can still see yellow. All right, so when one color is stimulated, the other one is inhibited. I am not, I am not entirely sure about gray. I'm not sure if maybe maybe cones take over with gray, because like gray is different. Like you don't necessarily think of gray as being blackish white. I think gray might actually be the combination of well, actually we'll see it right here, of like black and white cones, or neurons firing really, really fast against each other, such as, so here, this was something that was discovered by accident. I want you to focus on one of these intersections of white, right? And then see what you see in all the other intersections in your peripheral vision. What do you all see? Right. You should see little gray dots popping up in your peripheral vision. Are those actually there? Mm-mm. The reason this happens is because since black and white are opponent colors, and your peripheral vision is like going back and forth between those so fast, it actually creates that sensation of gray. It's basically those neurons like firing on and off like really, really quickly. Okay, same thing right here. All right, the white is actually there, but if you stare at one of the white ones, all the other intersections should turn like a gray, almost like a neon gray. Does it look neon to you all, like in your peripheral vision? Like almost like it's like light rather than color. That makes sense. Isn't it like cool that like our brain can do this stuff? Like that we're basically hallucinating. Like you're hallucinating right now, looking at it. I think it's pretty cool. Thank you, Connor. Okay. All right. So the evidence for this is what are called negative after images. And I'm going to show you. So I'm going to have, we're almost done. Okay. I'm going to show a picture. I'm going to put a picture up on the screen for about 30 seconds. There's going to be a little white dot in the center of it. You're going to stare at that white dot for 30 seconds, and then I'm going to switch it over to a white screen, and we're going to see what happens. Okay? Is everybody ready? Yep. All right, there you go. Stare at the white dot. Try not to blink. All right, okay, so I'm going to switch it over here. All right. What did you see? Yes, but it also should be something relatively familiar to you. the, the American flag. All right, now after staring at the green and black and yellow for 30 seconds, why do you see the American flag when I switch it over to a white screen? Anyone? Yep. Okay, so what happens here is like, all right, so we got green and red. We got blue and yellow. Make sure you know these. And we got black and white. Okay, so the green, the yellow, and the black were all activated. This firing, 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 firing. When I switch it to a white screen, all right, white contains all other colors. But when I switch it to a white screen, green, yellow, and black are tired. They're like worn out after firing for so long. So what happens is because white contains all other colors, right, we only see the red, the blue, and the white in there. Okay. If I switched it to a black screen, it wouldn't happen like that. It has to be like gray or white. All right. But basically, that's called a negative after image. When we stare at one color for a while and look away, we will see the opposite color. Okay. Now, I got one more thing, one more example. This is pretty cool. It's called the castle illusion. And then I'm going to let you go. All right. Everything is all screwed up right now. Okay, so I'm going to show you an image for 30 seconds. There's going to be a little black dot in the center of it that you'll stare at. Okay. And then after 30 seconds, it's going to flip over to something else and you're going to see what happens. Okay. Is everybody ready? So the image is going to look like that. Okay, all right, so here you go. Promise nothing's gonna pop up and scare you. Stare at the black dot in the center, try not to blink. All right, what'd you see? All right, as long as you kept your eyes open, did everybody initially see it in color when it flipped over to black and white? Was it ever actually in color? No, it was not. Okay, you can see here it goes from that to black and white. All right, so why do we actually see it in color until we blink? Because of the opponent process theory. All right, we see the opponent colors to these. This is like a negative after image here. So we actually see the regular opponent colors right there. Okay.